News 4 San Antonio at 5, we're here for you.
Multiple rounds, numerous rounds.
One of the Rangers came to me, he's like, as a father, I wouldn't let you go back there and see him.
Failure to act now means that we are complicit with the next mass shooting.
All I can hope is that she's just not a number.
Thank you for joining us for News 4 San Antonio at 5. I'm Robert Price. Day 3 of our coverage of the Uvalde school tragedy and signs that the grief being felt to the west of San Antonio is only intensifying. Let's take you to Uvalde. 21 white crosses now on display there in front of Robb Elementary, each bearing the name of the 19 children and 2 teachers killed Tuesday by a teen gunman. There you can see people huddled together, overcome with emotion. The gravity of it all still sinking in. Here's a look at the front page of the Uvalde newspaper today. The twice-weekly Uvalde Leader News, all black, except for the date of the massacre. There are simply no words for this tragedy. Some parents and neighbors of Robb Elementary are criticizing the response time of local law enforcement Tuesday. This afternoon, DPS held a news conference and was bombarded with questions about how the shooter barricaded himself in that classroom for up to an hour. Christian Flores breaks down the timeline and explores why it took so much time for officers to breach the shooter's barricade.
There have been so much backlash the past few days over how long it took police officers to get inside the classroom where the shooter had barricaded himself that law enforcement leaders had to hold a press conference this afternoon just to clear things up. Now, they did have to backtrack, however. One major point that leaders had been repeating the past few days about the shooter being confronted by a police officer before entering the school.
It was reported that a school district police officer confronted the suspect that was making entry. Not accurate. He walked in unobstructed.
A shocking revelation as law enforcement officials had to walk back this key point about how the shooter who killed 19 children and 2 teachers began his massacre at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde earlier this week. After receiving heat from the community over what they feel was a slow response, a press conference was called just a day after a prior one. Here, they reiterated officers entered the school 4 minutes after the shooting began.
They hear gunfire, they take rounds, they move back, get cover. And during that time, they approached.
It took 2 days for this memorial to go up outside the school, but residents have taken umbrage with a smaller time frame, 40 minutes to an hour. That's how long officials say the shooter barricaded himself in the classroom with his would-be victims.
Officers are there, the initial officers, they receive gunfire. They don't make entry initially because of the gunfire they're receiving. But we have officers calling for additional resources.
At 11:40 a.m., the shooter walked into Robb Elementary with an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle. At 1:06 p.m., the Uvalde Police Department announces the shooter is in custody, killed by responding officers. Former law enforcement agent Scott Stewart says it may have taken this long to breach the shooter's barricade because they couldn't risk hurting innocent bystanders.
You just can't shoot randomly into the classroom, right, trying to take the guy out, because you don't want to hurt anybody on the inside.
Stewart also points out the school's doors may have been tough to breach by design in the event teachers have to lock their doors during a mass shooting event.
In this case, it looks like those safeguards were actually turned against law enforcement by the intruder.
This is still an ongoing investigation. Not only are detectives trying to get to the bottom of the motive for the shooter, but they're also examining their own response. In Uvalde, Texas, Christian Flores reporting.
Thank you, Christian. Now, before we get any further in our coverage, we'd like to share more of what we're learning about the 21 victims. You know, speaking with their families, all of them seem to have the same request. Please make sure your audience never forgets my child.
These are the faces we need to remember, lost to a tragedy we will never forget. Tess Marie Mata, Lexi Rubio, Nevaeh Alyssa Bravo, Jose Flores Jr.
He would always play with me, be like my little shadow.
He was a little helper.
Jose's father remembers asking if he could see his son at the hospital.
One of the Rangers came to me, he's like, as a father, I wouldn't let you go back there and see him. Because he was not recognizable.
Anabel Guadalupe Rodriguez, Xavier Lopez, Azaya Garcia, Amarillo Garza, Jackie Casares, Alethea Ramirez, Rogelio Torres, Ellie Garcia, Eliana Torres, McKenna Lee Elrod, none of them older than 10 years old. Many of them honored that morning for their stellar grades. All of them looking forward to summer break.
You can just tell by their angelic smile that they were loved, that they loved coming to school, and they were just precious individuals.
And then there were their teachers, Eva Morales and Irma Garcia, friends and co-teachers for the past 5 years who died protecting their students.
These two teachers, I would say, are the cornerstone of that campus to some great degree.
Morales' daughter writing this about her mother: "I'm so happy that people know your name and they know what a hero looks like. I want to thank you, Mom, for being such an inspiration to me. I will forever be proud to be your daughter."
Now, as for the family of Irma Garcia, today they confirmed the awful news that her husband, Joe, passed away today. They say he died of a broken heart. Here's a photo of Irma and Joe Garcia. They'd been married for 24 years and leave behind 4 children. The family says he suffered a cardiac arrest, passing away from the grief of losing his soulmate. At the same time, new details are emerging about the 18-year-old shooter. News 4 San Antonio's Matt Roy joining us live from Uvalde. He's been to several spots around town the shooter was known to frequent and even work. Matt, what are people there telling you?
Yeah, Robert, the city, first of all, is still in shock, but you can see they are rallying together. Multiple bouquets of flowers on these memorials right here that were placed today. But in regards to the shooter, there's a lot of people that are asking, where did he work and how often did he go to his grandmother's home? Those details we think we have for you right now. So we went over to his grandparents' home this morning to try and talk with his grandpa, but no one was actually there. Multiple neighbors told me that the grandfather went to San Antonio earlier this morning to visit his wife, who is still alive and is recovering from the gunshot wound to the face that she suffered from Ramos. We then went over to the local Wendy's where he was supposed to be working, or had worked, excuse me. We learned that today is 3 weeks to the day that Ramos did not show up to work any longer. The manager says he was not fired, he did not quit. He just stopped showing up. The last time he was there was May 5th, and that's the last time they saw him. We also went over to both the gun stores in town, and they were closed despite signs saying they were open today. Ramos reportedly bought his weapons on the 17th and 20th of this month. Now, from that press conference that you heard a little bit earlier, there was some new details regarding if there was an officer in the school, and we spoke to Uvalde Mayor Don McLaughlin about that today, why there was not an officer in the school. We'll have that for you tonight on News 4 San Antonio at 6. But for now in Uvalde, Matt Roy, back to you.
Melissa Vega at the live desk. Happening right now, we are learning President Biden and the First Lady will be in Uvalde on Sunday. We want to take a live look from the White House with what we're learning during a press conference a short time ago. The White House press secretary saying the president also following the investigation into the shooting very closely. And here is what the White House is saying about the investigation so far.
I know that right now authorities are working to piece together more details of what happened in Uvalde, so we won't prejudge the results from here at this time. It is always a good idea to look back and try to find any lessons we can learn, especially from tragedies like this, so that we can prevent them from moving forward, including law enforcement response.
And another live look as the memorial outside of Robb Elementary continues to grow, so do the questions about the investigation. That's the latest here at the live desk. Robert.
Melissa, thank you. Helping the community recover. We're going to look at the mental health resources planned for Uvalde families.
And we are heating up across the area. 4-zone weather watchers. Well, our cool spot, Rock Springs, Russell Annis at 87 degrees. We have 93 Northwest San Antonio. Derek Dawson, North San Antonio, 95. Getting hotter from here. What about rain chances ahead? We're going to take a look at that in your 4-zone weather coming up.
You're watching News 4 San Antonio.
Governor Greg Abbott points to mental health as a key issue in the aftermath of the Uvalde school tragedy, while officers and officials say the shooter had no known mental illnesses. News 4 San Antonio's Jordan Elder is live to explain how leaders are preparing for a wave of people needing help. Jordan.
Robert, right behind me is Robb Elementary, where this shooting happened this week, and just steps up the road is one of the few mental health providers in town. I'm told that employees there heard the shots being fired at the school, and now children are being brought in for counseling, still bandaged from those bullets. The leaders of Hill Country Mental Health say rural providers are hard to come by, and it's a problem that could get even worse. They've got a 2-week plan laid out to deal with the immediate aftermath of the shooting, but this community will need support for years to come. They want to open a family recovery center in the future to help with the long-term effects of this tragedy.
That we'll be able to be here for years to come, because we know that the children and the family members that have been impacted by this. This doesn't just go away in 2 weeks.
There were plans in place even before the shooting to open a psychiatric facility in Uvalde that will be funded through federal grants. Hundreds of counselors are now coming to Texas to help here in Uvalde. More long-term efforts will be rolled out over the course of the next few weeks. Jordan Elder, News 4 San Antonio.
Jordan, thank you. Still ahead, the bond of grief. How a San Antonio mother who lost a daughter in a mass shooting plans to help families in Uvalde. New at 5, a San Antonio family who lost a daughter in the 2012 Aurora movie theater shooting now helps the victims of mass shootings navigate the grief and the pain. News 4 San Antonio's Emily Bauckham here now to explain they helped write a survivor's toolkit specifically for mass shooting survivors.
Robert, their daughter, Jessica Galway, wanted to be a journalist. You knew her. She interned right here in this newsroom. Her parents now travel across the country to help victims of gun violence. Right now, they are in the car on the way to Uvalde and spoke with me by phone.
She'd be very proud of us. Jessie was the kind of person, she was always being helpful to somebody.
Sandy Phillips and her husband Lonnie are driving from Buffalo's mass shooting to Uvalde's. It will be their 20th mass shooting response since Jessie was killed inside a Colorado movie theater.
We didn't know what to do, and we didn't know what to expect. We were in the dark. We never officially were told that our daughter was killed. We found out through the young man that was with her in the theater who called us.
With their lives forever changed, the Phillips decided to leave their San Antonio home and hit the road.
We've been living on the road now for over 7 years, and we go from state to state speaking. We talk to survivors. We organize grassroots organizations.
They meet with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, pushing for gun reform. Their travels inevitably rerouted to the latest mass shooting.
Well, that's why we developed our Survivors Handbook.
It's an online document developed alongside a team built by another mass shooting survivor, former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords.
It goes through everything from okay, you've been notified, and now you're going to have to wait to hear when your child's or your loved one's body will be released. You're going to have to look for funds to help you. You're going to be told by conspiracy theorists that you are an actor. And in some cases, they will tell you that your child never existed, like Alec Jones said to me.
As they make the hard drive back home to South Texas, they are steadfast in their mission, but their hearts are heavy.
It just makes you feel like the elected leaders of this country, no matter what party they're from, are just fine with gun deaths in America.
I've said this many, many times over the years. The hardest phone interview I've ever done was actually with Sandy when she landed in Colorado to pick up Jessie's honorary college diploma and had just found out about the Newtown school shooting. She told me at least Jessie got 24 years. The kids in Newtown and now in Uvalde, their lives were cut short before they even really began. And Robert, we have a link to their survivors toolkit included with this story right now at news4sa.com.
Just so sad that it's needed, but it is.
It's absolutely needed.
Thank you, Emily. People from across the state and country have traveled to Uvalde like Sandy to help out and honor those impacted. News 4 San Antonio's Amanda Henderson spoke with NBC Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie, who explains how she works to tell the stories of those impacted.
As morning rises on the town of Uvalde, it's another day of trying to understand the painful reality that a gunman killed 19 children and 2 teachers.
It's so hard to know what to say to families who have lost a child.
NBC Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie has covered several devastating stories as a journalist. She says having empathy is important as people go through the worst days of their lives.
We want to honor their children by telling the world about, who they were.
They are these smiling children and dedicated teachers. Lives cut far too short. lives with stories that deserve to be told in a way that honors those we've lost.
We want to honor their children by telling the world about, who they were.
A situation that has left a town devastated and a country in mourning.
We're journalists first, but we're also humans, and a lot of us are moms, and I can't separate that from the way I see this story and the way I encounter these families who are dealing with the unthinkable.
Guthrie also mentioned that these families deserve our attention so we can let them tell their story when they are ready. That's something we are committed to also doing as well. For the entire community of Uvalde, we will be here for you as long as you need us. Reporting in Uvalde, I'm Amanda Henderson.
And back to Live Desk. Despite receiving some criticism, the NRA convention will be going on as planned in Houston this Memorial Day weekend. The city of Houston just ended a press conference about 3 minutes ago or so. We were listening in as the mayor of Houston talking about the safety and security of the convention, also saying that the city cannot cancel the convention since the city has had a binding contract with the NRA for 2 years. Several groups, including Black Lives Matter and Moms Demand Action, plan to protest the start of the convention. The mayor saying whether we agree with the NRA's position on guns or not, they just want everyone to be safe. Among the confirmed list of speakers, former President Donald Trump, Governor Greg Abbott, and Senator Ted Cruz. The mayor there also saying that the city of Houston will also be turning the lights at City Hall pink and blue in honor of the shooting victims. That's the latest from the Live Desk.
Now your certified most accurate 4-zone weather with Chief Meteorologist Chris Suchan.
All right, well, this evening I want to begin with our air quality. It is right now an air quality alert day in progress, and again tomorrow. That said, we are actually really holding our own with our air quality. We're in the green category right now, so looking good there. Houston, unhealthy right now with the air quality levels there. That's the low-level ozone buildup. And more good news on air quality is that the Saharan dust, we really don't have much over us right now. The big kick of it's way out there across the Gulf. And looking ahead, I don't see big issues here with Saharan dust as we work through the Memorial Day weekend. It will be very light and light and patchy across the Gulf, but not over us. What a temperature swing today. 59 degrees this morning. That was a refreshing start. Then we went to 95 this afternoon. So pure dry heat. Dry air can cool quickly at night under ideal conditions, and it can heat quickly, and that's what it's doing right now. 94. That's our World Car Weather Key and View. Sunny skies. Air is really dry. There it is. Relative humidity at 22%. So we'll get ourselves another nice cool down as the sun goes down. Those temperatures will start sliding back, but not as cool. 60s and low 70s tomorrow morning. This is just not going to be a good pattern ahead for rain chances. There goes the big upper low. This is a big ridge sitting right over us. A lot of sinking air underneath that. That really dries the air out. Makes it nearly impossible to think about rain chances. And it's with us through the upcoming weekend. This big trough here just doesn't quite dig down far enough south to bring us a rain chance. And all we do is just get these areas of high pressure, these big ridges sort of trading places and controlling our weather. So tough pattern on rain chances. Weather Prediction Center actually even scaled back from yesterday over the next 7 days. And yesterday wasn't all that impressive. So here's your Memorial Day weekend forecast. It will be hot. We're going to look for 98 degrees Saturday, 97 on Sunday, and Memorial Day Monday will be at 96. A lot of sunshine forecast, a little bit windy at times too. There's your day tomorrow, 70 in the morning, 97 in the afternoon. We'll wrap this up with our 7-day forecast. Breezy Saturday, windy on Sunday. The mornings in the low 70s, those hot afternoons, and just running with a little 10% rain chance next week. Just not terribly impressed. Out west, 99, over 100 for the weekend. 90s next week. Hill Country, 96. A cool start, 65 in the morning. Hot weekend for you with sunshine. And here's our eastern zone extended forecast. Don, Robert, over to you.
Chris, thank you. Don Harris joining us now. Don, Dak Prescott has been criticized from time to time for his play on the field, but never his leadership.
No, and I've been critical of Dak's play on the field, but he is a wonderful leader, and he is taking the lead again. Why Dak says America needs a locker room and what that means next.
This is the Thomas J. Henry Sports Desk.
Hey, the Cowboys have wrapped up their first voluntary spring workout sessions. Dak is healthy. CeeDee Lamb is the new #1 receiver, and the work on a new season has begun. But as we told you yesterday, the Cowboys spent a lot of their time off the field this week discussing the events in Uvalde and debating solutions, just like the rest of us. Dak Prescott leading the charge for open conversations on a lot of matters, both in the community and with his team. And Dak says the rest of the world could take a page from sports when it comes to the healthy exchange of ideas.
The locker room's a special place, and I say that because I don't want to say those things don't have to be talked about, but those things are dealt with day in and day out because this locker room's built of so many people from different backgrounds, different religions, race, you name it. And because we're all in a common goal, we've worked and we've already hashed out some of these things that when something of this magnitude happen, it would be wrong if we didn't mention it, as we have in our offense and defense. But to say that we've got to dial in and get to know one another better, the locker room has that, and that's why the locker room's special. And I think the world needs more of those, needs more locker rooms, whatever it may be, whether it's your workforce or not. And yeah, simple as that.
Cowboys get back together for another voluntary session over the next 3 weeks before the mandatory minicamp the first week of June. Coming up at 6, Reagan Rattlers in the playoffs and the regional finals tonight. We got a preview coming up at 6 o'clock. We'll be right back.